Hey everybody, welcome to Talk Daily. I'm your host Eddie, and today we're going to be talking about a very serious subject. This is obviously, if you're not aware of the invasion, well, the conflict now going on in Ukraine, Russia attacking the Ukrainian troops. And anyways, I want to bring it to your attention this site because as you're trying to get information, I think this site does you very, very well. It kind of gives you all in perspective. This is a live UA map, love UA map live. So I have a link to this website in description below. Go check it out. It shows you pretty much where the hotspots all over the world. And currently, as you can see right here, is around Ukraine. You can click in on all this little links, and it tells you, for example, right here in Ukraine, it tells you multiple warehouses caught on fire after a strike on Uman base. Literally, it's updated every couple of minutes, and on the side you can see the stream. So if you click on the area that you're wondering what's happening over here, for example, you click on that and it tells you right there the story. 34 minutes ago, violent clashes in Sumy, and it's currently what you can see that east of Ukraine there's literally a tank battle going on. You have Russian forces that are attacking Starobilisk now with tanks, BMPs, and there's heavy battle ongoing. And honestly, when you see something like this, to me, if you want to be neutral and just look at it from a very neutral perspective, um, United States went into right here, the Middle East, right? We went to Iraq, and for whatever bogus reason, right? They had nuclear, they had what biological weapon, they have anything, and we kind of did that, but I guess the Middle East looked at as a region that it's okay to be unstable, but not Europe. So Russia invading Ukraine. Ukraine is very stable. Ukraine didn't have. I mean, you could look at the Middle East and say, okay, Saddam. Uh, you know, there was a war between Saddam and Iran, but again, we like to think that now it's 2022 and we learn from mistakes and we don't expect people to be aggressor. But as you can see clearly, um, every nation is aggressor. It's just the way how they sugarcoat it, right? Uh, in the case the United States engaging in war in the Middle East and destabilizing the whole region is that was an excuse, right? And Afghanistan for God knows how many years. Um, but Ukraine is not the Middle East. Ukraine is not Iraq. Yes, but in Russian eyes, they look at Ukraine as any excuse to invade. So um, it's really sad because people are dying here and are dying, and it's just really sad to see all this death. But that's what happened when a nation becomes powerful and they're exerting their dominance over the region. Uh, we uh, we practice it, and they're practicing it, and you're seeing the what's sad is basically the weak nations who are unable to defend themselves. This is an overwhelming force. Ukraine is not going to last. This whole thing is going to collapse into exactly what we did in the Middle East, right? When we invaded those countries, what happened? We invaded Iraq. There was no. I mean, Ukrainians are putting a fight, but eventually it's going to collapse into a house to house insurgency, and what do you want to call it, terrorists, freedom fighters, whatever you want to name it. And that's what's going to be the um, unfortunately, it's going to be the situation. um, as far as NATO getting involved, I don't think so. I don't believe NATO is gonna. Nobody wants all out war. Russia is very strong, and that's not the point. When NATO allies, invaded the Middle East, we didn't see Russia in getting involved. Russia right now is in Syria, but again, yeah, it's weird. I'll ask you, like, isn't that weird? Like when you see it, it's really unfortunate because the bottom line, might is right. As much as you like to, the news will try to bump telling you, oh, he's a bad guy and this guy's a bad guy. Not really, man. It just that's what happened when nations are strong. What do you think China's gonna do? I mean, we're not even mentioning China. What do you think China's gonna do with Taiwan eventually? You think China is just gonna let go of Taiwan? No, that's not gonna happen. So what you're watching is just nations. We're getting to that point with a critical mass, right? You have a large army and you have to utilize it. You have to sharpen your knife. You have to use the army. You have to update it. You have to engage in some warfare. Look how much we learned from engaging in warfare in Afghanistan and Iraq, and even when we got engaged in Syria, we learned a lot. Our weapons got better, our equipment gotten better, we got honed down. And there's an economical cost, of course, but there's a lot of benefit. You know, there's obviously the human loss, the human toll, and the economical loss for the countries or the war is waging in the land that the war is waging in. Um, I like to think that when we got involved in the Middle East, we left and made it better. I like to definitely like to hope that the West is not a utilitarian regime. We don't go in there and uh, apply, force our will on these people, the way of life. We eventually left. We left Afghanistan. We left them be. I mean, what's our purpose being there? I have no idea. But now what you're seeing is Russia saying Ukraine is aggressor of. You know how we drew. I remember when we drew like pictures against Saddam Hussein, and we said, "Oh, he has some nuclear weapons." We had like some drawings, and we sure, oh, that's why we're gonna invade. Didn't have anything. The guy, if the guy had anything, he would have used it against us, but there was nothing, right? I mean, that whole thing fell apart. Ukraine, on the other hand, I don't know what Russia been. The, Russia is saying that, oh, Ukraine is trying to destabilize the region, and Ukraine is trying to be ally with NATO, and it's way too close to us, and we're feeling threatened. I mean, that's their argument they're using. Even China comes to the defense of, well, China's playing very smart. China's not condemning, or it's not saying yes or no. What was it? The Chinese I get it from here. Say like China refuses to call Russia attacks on the Ukrainian invasion. You know, because they're saying, oh, there's two wrongs here. Okay, there's two wrongs. Ukraine is being aggressor, and Ukraine feeling empowered by the West, and looking at it from a very neutral perspective, like from my perspective, all I see is a big guy beating up a small guy. You know, and the small guy got no chance. I mean, the Ukrainian people are very proud. They're gonna definitely put up a fight, but we talk about numbers and we talk about how long Russia's gonna continue doing this. If they're gonna continue fighting and more battles and more battles, um, I guess they're trying to make this into another hot spot. It's probably gonna be something like Afghanistan, where he's just sitting there. Russia's gonna be there for years and years, just sharpening their army, because I guess they have the money and the resources, because the West put in a lot of sanctions. America put in a lot of sanctions against what Russia is doing. Now, I mean, would you expect that there's gonna be like World War III and all these armies go in there and invade Russia? No, that's not gonna happen, because again, we're looking at the financial cost, and again, I always look at everything as money. Obviously, Russia have extra money, right? They have some money to play, and that's what they're doing. You want to use that word play? I mean, I know people are dying and this is horrible, but that's what Russia is doing. They have some army. I'm pretty sure a lot of people watching. You play some video games, right? When I don't know, some war games, whatnot, role playing games, RPG, whatever, and then you look at a map and you build an army, and you're like, okay, I have this army I can use. And that's what's going on. They obviously have the money. I mean, I know we're broke. No one can do this. And obviously have a plan how long they're going to keep engaging, because they're not going to engage forever. Because it's Russia versus the world. It's not going to happen. The only way Russia feels secure is because China is not getting involved. Because if China has a pact with Russia, because and it's then you get a World War III, okay? But I don't think so. I think what's going on right here is just basically the same thing what we saw in the Middle East. We went to the Middle East, but the only difference that country, Iraq and Afghanistan, they had no allies. I mean, at that point, Russia wasn't strong enough to do anything. So that's just like, go ahead, have fun in the desert. Yeah, go, and that's what NATO did. They went there and Everything got better. I mean, before we went to Iraq, look at our equipment. And look at the UK equipment. Look at all the NATO equipment. And look, after 25 something years of engagement and fighting, we got way better equipment. Things got better. Training got much better. So I think that's what Russia's doing. Russia is doing the same thing, except in Ukraine, and they're using whatever excuse, meaning that, oh, Ukraine is trying to is threatening our existence because Ukraine is trying to be part of NATO. Ukraine is trying to be part of the European Union, and Ukraine had nuclear weapons. I don't know why Ukraine let go of the nuclear weapons. They get let go of nuclear weapons in attempt to be part of European Union. They give back the nuclear weapon back to Russia. I think that is the I don't know why they did that, but Ukraine had an ace in their sleeve and they didn't utilize it. But right now, Ukrainian people are, fighting, defending their homeland. But uh, I mean, Ukraine was part of the USSR, So I, yeah. So as far I'm definitely sure of one thing: this front is just gonna collapse very quickly. They're gonna overrun the whole country, and then you're just gonna have pockets of resistance, and it's just gonna be absorbed into Russia, or Russia's gonna put some puppet president. We've done the same thing. I mean, honestly, we've done the same thing. We've done the same thing in Iraq. We've done the same thing in Afghanistan. Please, I mean, we NATO, been doing these things, but because China and Russia and we were the big, we were the big boys in the world, right? We can invade anywhere and do whatever we want, in the name of whatever you want to use, right? Um, Russia is doing that, but the thing, Russia is not sugarcoating it. We sugarcoat it by saying, "Oh, look, he's bad and he's a tyrant." And bro, these people live on tyrant. Some nations, there's just the way these people functions. We don't want to say that, right? Because we look at everybody and say everybody's equal. Yeah, absolutely, everybody's equal. But if they don't like their tyrant, they could always rise and take him down, right? I mean, I always believe you have to fight for your freedom. And that's what Ukraine is doing. They're fighting for their freedom. They're putting a fight, and I personally, I feel sad because it's sad to see people dying. It's sad to see this. There was Ukraine. It's not like Ukraine was. No, there's no evidence that I'm researching, seeing that Ukraine was, launched a missile or into Russia or cyber attacked it or whatnot. Nothing. There's only thing I could see is Ukraine was trying really hard to be part of the European Union. Ukraine was being very friendly to Europe, and obviously that just triggered Russia into saying that, look, before you become part of a European Union and you have the backup of the European Union, I'm going to invade you. That way I don't have to worry about it. And Belarus, Latvia, Lithuania, all these guys better, it's make an example out of them. Make an example out of Ukraine for all these, basically the Eastern Bloc, ex-Eastern Bloc countries, saying, you want to get too friendly with them, be aware of the consequences. Because I think, we obviously we live in the West, we see a lot of the Western news, but there's also other people living in the East, and they have their interest, and resources are not unlimited. Resources are limited, so they're fighting over resources, and one of them is land and a buffer zone, and that's what Russia is doing in Ukraine. I beside that, it's rough. I mean, let me know what you think. I mean, again, this site just keeps it updating. You can always see what's going on. Just as far as attacks and death tolls, it's just sad. Like 57 Ukrainians killed, another 169 were injured in a Russian invasion of Ukraine, according to the Ministry of Health. And that's battles. There's battles going on as I speak right now to you. There's engagement. There's fights. Joint staff clashes near Kherson. Russian troops attempting to advance toward Mykolaiv. Mykolaiv. Clashes near Chernigov. I'm pronouncing these names wrong, but it's in the Kharkiv region. It's sad, but Anyway, so if you're wondering why this is happening, I kind of give you pretty much the gist of it. Nobody wants to say these things, of course, right? No, but you're not gonna hear any CNBC or NBC or Fox or whatever news you're watching. They're gonna tell you what I just said, right? Because I don't know, when you go to war, the propaganda goes up to like super high gear because just the way it is. But no one's gonna explain to you that this is pretty much what we did there. But hey, we did that here because again, I have no idea like when we invaded those regions. You could say, oh, 9/11, but a bunch of Saudis and Egyptian took out a building in somewhere, and then we invade Iraq and Afghanistan. Okay, at least we had some. You could see some logical reason in our theory in why we had to react, which makes sense. We've been attacked, we react. But Ukraine didn't attack Russia. Okay, Ukraine did not attack Russia. Didn't There was no something like the 9/11 incident we had where a terrorist attack. It didn't happen. But as I said, Russia just feel threatened that Ukraine is becoming really part of the NATO, and I said, nope, we can move in it. And again, it's going to be basically what happened here in Iraq is going to be the same thing, except in Europe. And these countries are not going to get involved because nobody got involved when we were here. There was just NATO, was these countries, was the Western world involved in the Middle East, and Russia didn't get involved. So when Russia's in Ukraine, I don't think Europe is going to get involved unless we attack them, unless the West attacks Russia. Russia is not going to continue going into Europe. They're not going to do that. They're just basically going to definitely put a puppet regime in there and just say, okay, here you go, everything is stable. And that puppet regime is going to be obviously taking orders uh, from Moscow, and that's just gonna be the end of it. And unfortunately, those people are gonna live under just what's going to happen in Crimea. I mean, what happened here? We didn't do anything when that has happened, right? And they took over this region. Did Europe do anything? No. Again, it's a big boys group. That's what happened to your big dog. You're a big dog, big dog. You're just what you do. When China's gonna start making moves, it's gonna be the exact same thing. Well, what are we gonna do? I mean, we've been doing that for years, right? We've been doing that in you name it, what part in the world we've been toying around, right? We're putting our troops and getting involved. Now, when Russia's doing that, we're like, no, you can't do it. Okay. Do I mean, if you want to use um, terms as good or bad, I it's hard for me to use good and bad in a situation like this, because to me this is basically obviously one nation was not ready and another nation was ready. That's why you need to have military. That's why you need to have a military force. That's why you need to have a backup plan. Taiwan, you watching? I mean, this is what you need to have. No one is going to come to your saving. No one is going to come to save you. No one. Especially if you're being attacked by a big dog. Okay, now if Ukraine was attacked by Belarus, oh geez, bro, dude, everybody got involved. Everybody got involved immediately, right? Easy, 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 easy war, right? Everybody got involved. But Russia, no, 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 that's too much. It costs too much death. Nobody wants to get involved in that. Little pieces like that, nobody got involved. But oh, now they went in here. Little pieces. I mean, again, when Russia went into the Crimea, look at that. They took it over. That's mine. Mine. I take. Why? I don't know. Because I want it. That's why it's strategic. It's nice. Okay, I want to have access to this whole channel so my navy will go in and out. Cool. I mean, again, a lot of Turkey and Cyprus. Hey, Turkey goes in Cyprus. We don't talk about that, do we? Everywhere in the world, this stuff happens. But this is really a big flashpoint because we like to think, because the world is racist, we like to think that Europe is stable, right? Oh, these people are stable. It's a civilized world, right? And if we look at, for example, regions like Africa, Middle East, or I don't know what else, whatever, we like to think, okay, they're unstable. Their government is unstable. So having flashpoint is natural. We didn't look at Ukraine as being unstable. Ukraine was never unstable. So um, I pray for everybody. Hopefully there'll be a ceasefire and people go back to their senses. That's my wish. It's just sad because this is a senseless loss of life. Okay, if Ukraine did something and Russia reacted, sure, but Russia just exerting its power on a little guy. But again, I mean, when we fire tomahawks at the Middle East, I mean, what did they do back to us? Did they attack us? No. I mean, this actually even worse because when we playing around Afghanistan and the Middle East, what our in the West they're fine, and Iraq didn't launch a missile into England or launch a missile into France. Afghanistan didn't. That just bit you back because you were in there, right? You lost some casualties because you had troops on the ground and eventually came into contact. But Ukraine and Russia, they share a border, so Ukraine can attack Russia, and it is defending itself and engaging. But the level of attack versus defense is obviously more toward defense because it's just overwhelming force. So, anyways, let me know. This has kind of been like what it is right now, according to this site. What is it? Liveuampmap.com. Let me know what you think. I mean, if you agree with me or disagree, always let me know in the comments below. And it's just a horrible, sad situation. It is. I don't believe right and wrong. There's no right, wrong. There's always, life is not fair. It is what it is. Life is unfair. It's just really unfortunate, the loss of life. I, but my personal opinion that, um, it's sad to see. It's just sad. It's just sad. I wish Ukraine, had more military power that it could resist this invasion. Because, nobody wants to see their country, going under chaos and being destroyed and rockets and whatnot landing on you and death and destruction. Nobody wants to see that, especially at this age, So, my thought and all my heart goes to Ukraine and everybody's involved there, and hopefully this thing dies out. But I don't think so. I'm very sure it's gonna go into another Iraq, where Russia is gonna be sharpening its army and sharpening its weapons and you know modernizing its equipment, and somehow Russia has money for that. The only way for this to stop is obviously financially for them to run out of money. So, and that's what Europe did. That's why they did the blockade. So good for the West. They went and ahead and did that because, as I told you, the bottom line of everything is you obviously have some money to play. So stopping that money flow will eventually reduce their ability to engage in warfare. And what happens later, we'll see. Uh, anyway, as always, thank you for watching. And I know this is not about cars, but I just wanted to say this and let you know about the site, and for you just to keep an eye on these events. Anyway, as always, thanks for watching. Take care, and I'll see you next time. Bye.